All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're going to completely demystify Rhonda Byrne's famous law of attraction, and we're going to treat it like a simple step-by-step user manual for the human mind. You know, often when people hear the word manifestation, they instantly think it's some vague, mystical, maybe even woo-woo concept. But what if it's actually a highly logical system? Today we're breaking down the exact mechanics of how this works. And, well, unfortunately there's no actual Control-Alt-Delete button for life, but there are some incredibly actionable steps you can apply right this second.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover You Are the Creator, Speaking What You Want, The Frequency of Joy, Embracing Negative Thoughts, Believing versus Knowing, and finally, Unlocking Effortless Action.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, You Are the Creator, and looking at the mind as a program.
So to really get this, we've got to establish the foundational rule of this entire system. The mind is absolutely not a magical entity. It is, quite literally, just a program waiting for your instructions. We tend to wrap the law of attraction up in all these mystical terms, but at its very core, it's a mechanical process. Think of it exactly like a computer. The inputs you type on the keyboard generate specific, totally predictable physical outputs in your reality.
Which brings us to a crucial realization. You are the ultimate creator and operator sitting at that keyboard. Rhonda Byrne points out that we constantly give all the credit to the thoughts themselves, but it's actually us directing them. Your current life, whether you're absolutely loving it or really struggling with it, is simply the result of the software you've been running. The good news? You have the power to write new code at any given moment. You just have to take your hands off autopilot.
Moving right into Section 2, Speaking What You Want, or Inputs and Outputs.
This is super fascinating. Speaking about what you don't want literally writes code that forces the system to give you more of it. If you walk around all day constantly saying, "I'm so overwhelmed," or "I just don't have enough money," the system hears those as literal commands. See, the universe doesn't have a spam filter for the word don't. It just processes the core subject of your sentence. To rewrite this, you have to shift your language over to an abundance mindset. Instead of talking about the stress, you start commanding the system by saying, "I want effortless success." You really have to train yourself to speak strictly about what you actually want to experience.
There's this amazing quote from Lester Levinson that totally nails the sheer mechanical power of this mindset. It's profound, right? It proves that hard work alone simply will not override a negative mental belief. I mean, if you're out there grinding away 80 hours a week, but your internal programming says I'm always broke, the system is going to relentlessly crash. Your baseline code will always override your physical effort.
So I want you to actually audit your own program for a second. What are you taking for granted today? Because a lack of gratitude actively uninstalls the good things in your life. When you take things for granted, they eventually get taken away simply because you've stopped prioritizing them in your code. Gratitude, on the other hand, is the ultimate multiplier. Replaying the best moments of your day right before you fall asleep essentially prompts the system to generate more of those exact moments tomorrow.
Okay, Section 3, The Frequency of Joy, Powering the System.
Look, every program needs a power source, right? In our mindset mechanics, that energy comes directly from your emotional frequency. Joy operates on the exact same high frequency as love, and it acts as an absolute supercharger. When you feel full, positive, and genuinely happy, your desires manifest incredibly fast. But on the flip side, despair, or even just feeling completely numb and treating life like it's just another day, that acts like a dial-up connection. It slows the entire system down to a crawl, and often brings negative manifestations with it.
This concept is so incredibly critical that Rhonda Byrne took it extremely seriously when she was building her own empire. Just look at these rules she implemented. She literally banned her team from working on The Secret if they were in a bad mood, because she knew that opening an email while frustrated just downloads more problems into your day. If you can't shift your mood, step entirely away from the keyboard. The host of the interview we pulled this from, Lewis Howes, shared that early in his career, he simply made bringing joy into a room his one and only purpose. And that single frequency shift, it unlocked massive financial and networking opportunities for him.
Which brings us to Section 4, Embracing Negative Thoughts. Let's talk about bug fixing.
Because let's be real, what happens when our programming just crashes? How do we handle those inevitable bugs of grief, stress, or just deep sadness? Well, most of us try to numb out, escape, or violently push the pain away. We distract ourselves. But structurally speaking, distracting ourselves is like ignoring a virus warning on your desktop. It just allows those negative loops to quietly run in the background, completely draining your battery.
So how do we actually fix it?
When Byrne faced a really crippling bout of depression, fueled by worry over her daughter, she didn't run from it. She applied this three-step process. She realized that depression is ultimately just a physical sensation. Instead of resisting it, she closed her eyes, visualized wrapping her arms around that dark sensation, and pulled it close. She hugged it. By analyzing and fully embracing the bug rather than fighting it, the darkness completely evaporated within a matter of days. By understanding that depression, anger, and anxiety are just temporary physical sensations, you realize a super powerful truth. What you resist persists, because negativity and darkness simply cannot exist in the direct presence of love and light. Loving the bug is actually the fastest way to patch the software. By embracing the pain, you dissolve it completely.
All right, Section 5, believing versus knowing. Time to upgrade the software.
This right here is probably the most advanced upgrade in the entire user manual, the vital distinction between just hoping for a result and fully claiming it. If you're patiently waiting for your manifestation to arrive, you're stuck in believing mode. It's kind of like watching a video buffer on your screen. You're secretly communicating to the universe that it hasn't actually loaded yet. Knowing, on the other hand, is the ultimate override. It means the download is already complete. It's done.
Let me give you a real-world scenario of how this builds. A woman struggling with IVF was failing over and over again. Why? Because she was constantly visualizing the process of getting pregnant. She was stuck in the resistance and the buffering phase of believing. But once she was coached to upgrade her software to knowing, by visualizing the absolute end result, actually feeling the baby in her arms, hearing it cry, she bypassed the resistance entirely. It happened within a single month. You don't visualize the journey, you have to mentally inhabit the destination.
And finally, Section 6, unlocking effortless action, the final output.
This is the ultimate output of a perfectly programmed mind, where your physical actions perfectly, seamlessly align with reality. A massive mechanic here is what we call creating a vacuum. Think of it exactly like clearing hard drive space. The universe cannot install new software if your storage is completely full. If you want a partner, but your closet is totally stuffed and you sleep in the dead center of the bed, there is physically no space for them. You have to physically make room. Sleep on one side of a king-sized bed. If you want to travel, pack a suitcase and just leave it by the door.
Let me give you a crazy high-stakes example. Look at these two Australian Olympic volleyball players. They were massive underdogs with statistically zero chance of winning, but they totally hacked the system. They literally filled their entire apartment with gold items. They bought gold awards leading up to the games. They lived in a physical vacuum of gold, acting as if they were already champions. And the result? They won Olympic gold. The system had absolutely no choice but to deliver.
The big takeaway here is that you really don't need all the resources up front. You just have to create the vacuum. This woman desperately wanted a horse but couldn't afford one at all, so she simply bought a bridle, a small, inexpensive piece of equipment, and left it sitting right on her table. She created the hardware space. And weeks later, through a bizarre string of effortless connections, she was literally gifted a horse to fill it.
When you get this right, when your inputs, your frequency, and that feeling of knowing are all completely aligned, the actions you take in the real world, they won't feel like a grinding struggle. When Rhonda Byrne was $2 million in debt and facing total ruin, she didn't panic. She held a singular vision of sharing her knowledge with the world. Writing The Secret didn't feel like work to her. The words just poured out effortlessly because her mind was perfectly programmed for that exact output. It will feel exactly the same for you.
So, we've walked through the mechanics, the bugs, and the outputs of this wild operating system we all possess. I want to leave you with this final thought so you can audit your own reality today. Just look at your life right now. The good, the bad, the frustrating. It is all a reflection of your previous inputs. The keyboard is squarely in your hands, and the universe is just sitting there waiting for you to hit enter. So, what commands are you typing into it right now? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.